as a scout, we always want to know birth year because we go by birth year, not like graduation date for high school.
Hello, and welcome to the Kick It with Katie podcast. Today's episode is a continuation of my interview with Brooks Laimbeer. He is a scout with the Soccer Syndicate. So please make sure, if you haven't already, go back and listen to our first half of that conversation because we're going to just pick right back up from where we left off. Today, we are going to be talking about playing up, age change, things to do for recruiting processes. So stay tuned and thanks for listening.
And kind of one thing to
Mhm.
note, we've kind of talked about like players and what they can do and such. And, here in Michigan, I help out with an event called the Midwest Pro Combine, where we invite pro clubs in, USL, MLS, NISA. We've had a mixture of, college guys that have a year left that want to test the waters, maybe they're freshmen or sophomores in college, or maybe they're juniors and seniors in high school. Um, and the one thing I always notice as a scout, just to let everyone know, is I think it's important to play with players older than you because you have to get used to the speed of play. Um, we had some youth players in this last combine that came, and that was December 20th, 21st of 2023. You could definitely tell the players that they were technical enough and what they did was good. They didn't mess up, but you could tell the athleticism was the biggest difference and the speed of
Mhm.
play and how fast the game is. And one thing I would encourage people to do, and I think you don't see this enough. I think I'm 32, going to be 33 at the end of the month. So my generation, we would play with older people. Always when we could, whether it was kids in the neighborhood or other people's siblings or whatever. And I know the generations before me, it was very common for the younger brothers, or the sisters to play with the older kids and everything. And I think it's very important that whether it's pickup soccer or it's an 11v11 or 9v9 or 6v6, whatever it is, I think playing with older people, a couple years older than you, are is very important to your game because it helps you adjust to the speed of play and it makes everything then look a little slower when you play with kids your age. Um, everyone's always about, can my child play up on, if he's a 16 and he's grown really, he's really tall and he's taller than the other 16s, like he deserves to be on the 17s all the time. And, for sure, like physically, yeah. Is he technically there in the speed of play? That's always the question, right? And
Mhm.
if he's not, then obviously not playing up isn't the best thing. But the way to solve that a little bit to prepare yourself for that is outside of training. And like I said, I always tell kids to go to Aaron Burr because Aaron will let, 15s train with 16s and 17s. There's a good mixture of players. And, it's just
Mhm.
important to mix it up with people older than you because when you get that time to play up, whether it's your transition to college or it's your transition into like some college ID camp where you're a 16-year-old getting thrown in with 17, 18-year-olds, you can stand out still, but also you're adjusted to the speed of play, so it's nothing new to you. You already recognize and you already understand the speed of play and the quickness of the game and what you need to do to get out of situations and such. So, that's one advice I can always give to people is because everyone's like play more, play more, play more, and kind of like piggybacking off the take a break stuff is taking your breaks good, but obviously playing more with the same type of player in age isn't always the best thing to do sometimes.
Mhm.
Just if you don't want to be a big fish in a small pond, sometimes you want to be that small fish in a big pond. So, and you need to learn like humility is a part of the game, right? We're all going to make mistakes. We're all gonna, not always be the best player in the field. And I think there's an importance of learning that when you're not the best player in the field, but what can you do to contribute to the game that, is effective? So,
Yeah. So uh, off of that,
mhm,
so players that play up,
mhm,
maybe so like my example, just because it's fresh, a group of 07s played with our 06 team that won the national championships last year.
mhm,
And this group of 07s decided to go back to their own age group this year. And we personally didn't think it was the best thing for them as players, but they had their reasons. And, I did not have any conversations with anybody. But I just know that they left and they went back to their own age group for whatever reasons. And I know some of it has to do with college recruiting because they want to play with their own age.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, these are players that were standout players playing up a year.
Yeah.
But I know that, and I don't know if this is a parents need to know this information. But when you as a scout are going out and looking, does it matter to you if the players are all in their own age? Because I know when they did the age change several years ago,
Yeah.
like they did it because recruiting,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I'm like, kids are still going to play up. So who cares? Like,
Yeah.
honestly, that's how I was. It
Sure.
made it way harder for us on the logistical sides of, because now you have kids that are graduating and then the other half of the team is still here. They're
Mm-hmm.
still in high school or whatever,
Yep.
whatever number of players it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became a huge issue for us as club coaches and trying to figure out, kids that can play high school soccer and kids that are still in eighth grade
Mm-hmm.
and whatever. Like it became this big old thing that I absolutely hate. But anyway, so for like recruiting, when you roll up to a team and like let's say a manager or parent gives you a slip of paper or
Mm-hmm.
whatever that has the roster on it
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and you see birth dates and like are you going okay, I mean obviously if you've been given the task of I need
Mm-hmm.
players for this birth year
Yep.
or whatever this graduation year when
Mm-hmm.
they're going to be going to school, like do you guys, like you said, play with older players? So to me, I would think if you're a standout player playing a year up, I would think that college coaches are more likely to want to look at you or watch you, or recruiters or
Sure.
whoever are maybe going to be looking at you because you're playing up. How do you feel about that? Because I kind of had an issue with it. I again don't know all
Mm-hmm.
of the anything about what happened, but
Mm-hmm.
for them to go back to their own age group, and to me I'm like, yes, maybe you're still a standout player, but I don't feel like for the long term that it's going to be better for your game technically, maybe.
Yeah.
Because I think that they were getting a better quality of play playing up, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
because they were getting that physicality.
Yep.
But how was that for you as a scout, when you see a player that's playing up on a team, maybe they're younger,
Sure.
or are you looking at that player, or are you just kind of looking as a whole?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like
Yeah.
because I know that that's a question that parents have as far as their players, and they go, well, should they be playing up? Because is that going to hurt them
Mm-hmm.
when they're getting scouted? Will it help them? Does it matter?
Yeah. It's so this is kind of interesting. So you could take it from all different types of of age groups. So like 9v9, 11v11. So, I think at the younger ages when you're like 11, 12, 13, 14, some kids hit their growth spurts a lot sooner. And,
Mm-hmm.
every parent's always like, my child should play up because he's too athletic and he's bigger than everyone. But like we talked about before, if you can't technically hang with faster play,
Right.
you can't play with the older players. Like you're not going to show well.
Yeah.
I mean, I give
Mm-hmm.
every kid credit that wants to play up and is physically there and athletically there, but obviously in the long run is what you do on the field is what I see, and what I see, is what I write in my notebook is how I'm going to perceive you. Right now, you could say vice versa. I've seen kids that play up, an age group because you know, and they do really well because they're not asked to do a lot of things. It's really simple for them. I'm a midfielder. All I have to do is like find the game and play east or west, and I'm not required to do as much because I'm playing with better talented players, and that's the game honestly of soccer is kind of like I just talked about, big fish in a small pond and small fish in a big pond.
Mm-hmm.
We're all asked to do different things when we play with different types of players. Obviously, the kids that stand out are the ones that always play consistently and affect the game, no matter if they're the small fish in the big pond or the big fish in the small pond. So, does playing up hurt? It doesn't hurt in my opinion. I think I like to see kids do that more that have the quality. It's the
Mm-hmm.
players that get forced by the parent forces the coaches to play the kid up. That's not ready because the parent can't see that, and the player
Right.
doesn't know any better because it's mom and dad pushing for stuff, and obviously, it's a pay to play system, so a lot of clubs besides MLS academies can't like say no, we're not doing that.
Right.
Because it's just a different style and system between MLS Academy and pay to play. But um, so it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt, but that's how you're showcasing yourself. I give credit to the kids that want to do it. It's just like I give credit to kids that maybe are 17 years old that want to go play for their local NPSL or USL2 team if they have it, if they can. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to judge. I'm going to say, hey, like if you're so like oh 07s or like 17s now, wait, if you're an 08 or an 07 and you're going to go play with, college players that are 19, 20, 21 years old in the summer league, if you can hold your own and not kill the
Mm-hmm.
game and just be steady, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll have a lot of respect for you because you're playing against older kids that are more physical and faster. You can tell that you don't want to take a lot of chances because a lot of kids, when they play up, they don't tend to want to take a lot of chances because they know they're not athletically and physically there or their speed of play is not up to
Mm-hmm.
par. Um, but even then, if you take a chance and you mess up, like that's fine. Like I'm not looking for the perfect player. I am not looking for a kid that completes 100% of his passes and scores 20, scores a hat trick in every game, and that's just not realistic. And
Right.
again, it comes to the like we talked about the character and everything else besides your skill of play. Like how do you handle things? And again, like get back to the thing when you're the small fish in the big pond. How do you handle yourself when you're the player on your team at 15, and then when you get bumped up to the 17s, how do you handle it by not being the player anymore? Can you be a role player? Because that's what
Mm-hmm.
happens in the pro game at the end of the day is every
Yeah.
every every pro was once their top player on their collegiate team, their youth team, their lower division pro team, and now I'm just a piece of the puzzle trying to help us win games. So how do I play my
Mm-hmm.
role so I can help my team win games? Because at the end of the day, that's the pro game. Is there's still development involved. Obviously, when you play for lower division pro teams like USL League One, Championship, English League One, League Two, whatever, at the end of the day, you're trying to develop because they want to sell you on to get money for you to a higher level team. But at the end of the day, it's about winning games and you yourself recognizing what level of a player you are and what you need to work on. At the end of the day. So again, go back to your question. Does it hurt to play up? It does not. I personally, you know, I applaud kids that do that. To be honest with you, and but it's the ones that get forced that shouldn't be at that level. I'm like, this is ridiculous because your parents not doing anything for you by forcing the kid to play up in age because you're physically bigger than other kids, and that happens a lot at the U11, U12, U13 level, and that's why coaches are very cautious of it. And I think there's some kids that I've seen, locally here that I think that are U12 that definitely should get a run for a few games with the 13s. To be honest with you, to see what he would do if you place the kid into the midfield or as an outside back or a backline player. Um, but when you start to get up into like 15, 16, 17, you could see the distance to start to really take pull between players. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's not good for a kid's player development, and in my opinion. But it never hurts to try to play up if you can. It's just another soccer match, in my opinion. So
Yeah. I mean, does it hurt for recruiting if a player is playing up? Does does that have any effect on recruiting if you're playing on a team that's older? And you can hang. I mean, if you're in the game and you're in there, because I know, some of the reasons why players drop down into their own age is just because they know that part of their team, if they're playing up,
mhm.
is going to end up graduating, and so they go and play, with whatever team because they want to be in their own age.
Yeah,
And so that's, I've seen players do that, and again, I feel like they were getting better because they were playing up
yep,
with that physicality and
hmm
things, and they were prepping themselves for the next level.
yep,
And so by dropping down, I don't necessarily think that that's where their game needed to go,
hmm
but obviously it's their decision.
hmm
And, but, they've obviously thought about it. I'm not a part of that equation, but this is just me looking at it from the
yeah,
outside
yeah,
and going, I wouldn't, if it had been me, I wouldn't have done that.
hmm
Um,
yep,
if that was my kid, I wouldn't have done it. But
Yeah.
I know that some of their issues are for recruiting and scouting from colleges, and they think that they have to be on an '07 team
Hmm.
or whatever age they are, '08, to make sure that they get scouted properly, I guess
Yeah.
is what it
I
is.
mean, listen, at the end of the day, if a college coach is looking for like a younger player to play up in age and defining that as them being a successful player, it's like, what are you doing? You know,
Mm-hmm.
like as a scout, like I said, I've done this for 8.5 years. Listen, I know people will knock me. I haven't played the pro game, and I wasn't a high level college player or whatever. But I've done this long enough to know at the end of the day, you know, you're going to see if the longer you do this as a scout and the more live games you watch, the more you know that and you understand that, listen, that kid can play up, but they're playing down right now because that's what's best for them. Or
Mm-hmm.
the kid playing up shouldn't be playing up. They need to play with their own age group. And you just have to see how the kid fits into your system, the way they play, and you take what happens with the player. So in that game. So, if someone's judging by you playing up on an age group and in defining that as success, I think they really need to get another job because that's just not the right way to judge a player. It's judging them how they play in the game, how you see fit,
Mm-hmm.
how you see the player fits in your in the system that you're going to play. Um, Especially for the college game, not all freshmen jump in and play freshman year. I mean, you got to sit and
Right.
wait sometimes, and the yeah, I see it with a lot of kids too. Everyone has the dream of like a big D1 school where I think a lot of players are better fit for a small D1 school, especially if they want to jump in and play right away. And jumping
Mm-hmm.
in and play right away may not be starting, but it may be getting a bigger role off the bench than you would at a good D1 university. And I think some colleges handle, this situation a little differently. Some do a very good job of saying, hey, we're redshirting you. We're going to redshirt you our freshman year or your freshman year. And, we have a plan for you, but you need to do this in training, and we're looking for this X, Y, and Z, and you to get into the weight room and build your body and get a little bit bigger and stronger and faster. Um, I don't want to play you your freshman year because we see potential in you. And then there's some kids that want to jump in right away, and it's just like they can't hang. It's like it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe they should have went to the smaller, D1 school or D2 or NAIA school because they would have more success, and that's what they wanted. If they wanted to play sooner, then they needed to go drop down a level. So it's just playing up, and it's something I just really just it doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I think it's great if you could do it, if you could showcase well. The more power to you, and the more looks you'll probably get, honestly, as a for pro teams and MLS academies and higher level college teams. But it's not the end all be all at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here's another topic that got brought up recently when I was talking with another coach. She was talking about some of her players that had recently gone to a college showcase
Mm-hmm.
out of state somewhere for, I don't know if it was an ECNL team
Yeah.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's a high school coach. And, they were all excited to tell her about how they went and were in front of all these different schools. But, her question to them was, well, cool, we're, you've expressed that you want to go to XYZ school. Were any of those scouts there?
Yeah.
And they were like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And so her question, and I don't know if she actually posed this to them, but why are you going to this event if the schools that you want to go to aren't even going to those events
Yep.
to scout you?
Yep.
So is there a way for, like, can players contact schools to have scouts come and look at them at events, see if they're going to be there? I don't know how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I've never personally done that.
Sure.
So how does that work? Like, if a player is interested in going to a specific college and they want to be scouted at an event, other than sending like video,
Sure.
if they want to be seen live?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'll kind of expand on that. I'll answer that question and expand. So, I've talked about this with some players that I know. Some play at MLS academies, some play at non-MLS next academies, and some play for UCNL. So, local players in the greater Detroit area who I've known going out, scouting and getting to know them and their parents. So, the one thing I just
Mm-hmm.
say, like, you're going to talk about the college process and moving from youth to college. And to me, the first thing you do is you don't pick in the college process, you don't pick a school for soccer. That's the first thing you don't do. You pick a school for soccer, you're going to end up transferring a bunch because you're either going to be A, unhappy, with not playing enough. B, you're not going to be happy with like the area it's in. And C, you're not going to be happy because
Mhm.
maybe they don't have your major actually that you want. And you're like, wow, I kind of wasted 2 years just doing general classes, but they don't have anything I want because I just picked about the soccer. So I always tell players this: first, pick a college on the what do you want to do? What do you want to do in college? Like, or what do you want to do for a career? And you don't have to know the answer right away, but if you know generally of like 5 or 6 different things you want to do, research those universities and figure and of all the colleges. Because the problem is a lot of colleges pick, oh, players, youth players. Oh, I'm going to look at the top 25 list, and that's where I want to go to school. Well, that's just not reasonable. That's just not, that's just not a reality. Like,
Right.
that's, those top 25 schools, again, they're recruiting internationally. They're recruiting all over the country. So obviously some schools are very state specific or regional specific, but that's still very difficult to do. So you need to look at all the colleges that are whatever it's D1, NAI, D2, or whatever's in your region. You look at what academics they have and do they have what you want to major in. Two, where do you regionally want to go? If I'm in the Midwest and I live in Michigan, do I want to leave the state? Do I want to leave the Midwest region? Am I comfortable going all the way down to Florida or all the way out to California? And if mom and dad want to come watch me play, do I want them to fly? Have to fly all the way out there. I mean, most universities are pretty good about playing away games, and most of like the of the roster players like that they can go back and play locally. So where the players from, so
Mhm.
they can go watch their son or daughter play. But you have to think about where do you want to go? Do you want it to be local? Do you want it to be big city? Is it urban? Is it a rural area where you know you're not you're not far from the city, but you're not close to one? What do you want as a player? So academics and where you want to live are the first things, and then the soccer part comes into play. Um,
Mhm.
so then getting back to the soccer part, like, okay, so how do I get a team to come watch me? So I think having a highlight video is important. So putting it up on YouTube is extremely important. The power of YouTube, I mean, I just today I was texting with the college coach and I was like, man, what year does this kid graduate high school? And I went right to YouTube and I put the kid's name in, and sure as heck, like the opening part of the YouTube was like, hey, graduate of 2025. That's when I graduate high school. So, you know, having that highlight video and have a few different highlight videos is really important on YouTube because you're searchable. Um,
Mhm.
Having a soccer resume, not so much. If you want to get into the pro game, I think that's where you want to put a soccer resume together. But like on that like title page, I call it in your highlight video, you should list, hey, like these are my accolades. These are the clubs I played for. You can contact this person. This is my, you know, I as a scout, we always want to know birth year because we go by birth year, not like graduation date for high school.
Right.
What positions do you play? Give us some skills that like you feel like you excel at or and such, or like I've created ones for my former players in Lawrence Tech and for a few of them, and I put like, hey, these are the positions I can play. Like, I'm a center back, but I can play outside back, or or I can play on the left. I'm right-footed, but I can play left center back as well as right center back and right back. So, you know, but having the highlight video is important, and then building a proper email. And the email should always come from the player, no matter what. It should not be the parent doing this. Like, if you want to play college soccer that badly, whether it's D1, D2, D3, NAI, like you should be the one emailing the coach because I think they respect that a lot more. And obviously have a proper email address. Don't be like, soccer boys, 2133 or whatever. Like have your name. So like, my, my, have my name in there. So like Brooks Laimbeer, at gmail.com. You want that so they know they know who you are when they see the email. And have a proper subject title, and then have a well written email that says, hey, I like the academics at your university because in the end of the day, colleges can get more academic money for good grades than they can athletic money. Most of the athletic money is going to go to the top players, and most of those are probably going to be international, or the top domestic players. Um, so at the end of the day, like talk about why you like the university and what you want to major in, and don't just talk everything soccer. Like yes, it's a soccer program, you want to go there for soccer, but you need to give them other reasons of why you want to go to the university besides the soccer part of it. Then put your
Mhm.
accolades in that body of the email, and just and make sure you sign off, friendly, like best regards, Brooks Laimbeer, or like look forward to watching you guys play this fall, or look forward to seeing you at the showcase. And obviously there's the rules of, hey, like certain age you can only you can't talk to you can't talk to college coaches until you're you're junior in high school and everything, and you got to follow NCAA rules. But you can only start the process by saying an email and then going to college ID camps so they know who you are, and then just reaching out. And if they come, they come. If they don't, so be it. Like that's what I say. Your play in the field is everything, because
Mm-hmm.
maybe they don't come watch you that one time, but you had one heck of a game. And college coaches talk. You get people to understand the soccer world is very small.
Very
Whether
small.
I'm scouting for an MLS club for the college draft, or for USL club for academy, or for an MLS club for the academy. I mean, we'll talk. We'll be like, hey, like, did you see this kid play? Oh yeah, I saw him play. Like, he was really good against the Michigan Wolves. He's in. I've seen him a couple times in the fall. He's been very consistent. And oh, he emailed me, but I never got to his game because I was watching said kid stuff. And people don't understand is word of mouth. You know, things travel around very fast, and someone may not come watch you the one time, but then they may come watch you the next day or another event, or playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
MLS Next and EC now have all these different showcases, and then they have playoffs and everything. They may not
Yep.
catch you at the showcase, but they may catch you in the playoffs. So you just have to remember all that. But you know how you present yourself to in terms of pro and college, but we'll stick for college for this. How you present yourself as a player and as a person is very important, in my opinion. How
Mm-hmm.
you write, how you type out an email, the words you use, because they can tell a little bit of your character by that, by how you type an email out to them, how you respond to them. So, yeah,
It's almost like a job interview,
yeah,
like a like you said, like a resume.
hmm
I'm picturing like, even players that are on the field going on the pitch for a game,
hmm
like conduct yourself in a way that's like your boss is watching, like kind of a thing. Like,
yes,
if you want to be scouted, like that's one of the things that we ran into, and this was just at a youth game
hmm
recently where some players had absolute horrid behavior, like the players did and their
yep,
parents did, and
hmm
I just sat there and was like, if a college scout was watching this and we were at an older age, the
hmm
scout would turn and walk away and go, I would never recruit these people because
yep,
of their behavior. Like it
exactly.
was absolutely atrocious.
hmm
And I was just like, I don't know what you guys are thinking. Like, I mean, I know kids are kids and occasionally they're going to act out because they're
Yeah,
kids, but you can tell what is reoccurring behavior and what is maybe like a one-off or something.
yep,
And so that's always very important because I know, like, even when I've gone to job interviews or whatever in the past and helping conduct a job interview, and looking at the way that the people present themselves and
hmm
going, this is the type of person that I'm looking at, and unfortunately that's kind of what we have to look at. Is this person going to be put together? Were they on time? All the things. And so that's definitely something that the players need to recognize, where it is sort of like, to me, I feel like it's a job interview for college in a
yep,
way. Like you're interviewing to be, if you want to be a part of their program. And so they want to make sure that they're going to have players that are reliable, that are dependable, that are, they have a good head on their shoulders, that aren't going to do
yep,
something to disgrace their program,
hmm
kind of a thing. They want those players.
yep,
I would say that they would probably take a less technical player with a better attitude than a better player with a horrible attitude. I mean,
correct,
because that's what I would do as a coach.
correct,
And I
correct.
don't coach college, so
Yeah, yeah,
but that's definitely something to think about as well. With all that stuff, like you say, making sure you're proofreading your emails,
hmm
have somebody else look at it, and make sure that you're grammatically correct.
yes,
I know sometimes I'll send a message and I'm like, oh my gosh, I accidentally pushed a wrong
yeah.
button because I was typing too fast on my
We
phone,
all do it.
and I'm like, they probably think I'm a moron, and I'm like, everybody does that,
Yeah,
but so make sure you proofread stuff because sometimes you miss something
Yeah.
that you might not have known was in there, or like especially for soccer terms and things, when I send out soccer emails,
Hmm.
sometimes it tries to change my grammar to be something different because soccer terminology isn't necessarily proper grammar, and so it'll try and change things or words or something, suggest different word
Yeah.
things. So you got to watch out for that as well,
Yeah.
depending on what's included in the email
Hmm.
and things when you're contacting people.
Yeah. And what I tell kids too is like the kids I've worked with is you don't have to tell a story. Like I don't need
Mm-hmm.
to know everything about you in one email. You know, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
interested and I want to know more about you, I'm gonna ask, your coach. I'm gonna ask people, just keep it simple. Keep it simple, you know, straight to the point. It's the hook. Like
Mm-hmm.
the cover letter for the job is the hook, and same with the resume.
Yeah.
You're hooking the coach in to then want to know more about you, and once they say, "Oh, like this is good. Okay, I'm gonna watch this kid play." All right, then you're showcasing your skills and talents, and then you have them interested, and then now they go on from there, and they're like, "Hey, like, you know, now I want to know more about this said player." So that's the thing is
Right.
like, just be simplistic. You don't have to overcomplicate things, and I think that's where, when you try to do too much, that's where you get yourself caught in trouble a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
simple is better,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes people do things to stand out that actually don't work.
Yeah, don't lie.
Sometimes they do.
Don't lie
Yeah,
anything.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you quickly find out when you people that lie and whatnot. Yeah, and one thing too is like I'll mention too is like when we talk about presentation, like for the Midwest Pro Combine, I send an email, to the players. I'm like, listen, like I know everyone doesn't like to wear shin guards and whatnot anymore because of all the pro guys and how they see them train and everything. But like, listen,
Right.
make yourself look proper. Like if you're going to be in a combine situation and you're going to talk and you're getting in front of pro clubs or you're in a showcase or you're going to an ID camp and you're not wearing shin guards and dressed properly, like what are we doing? Like, you know, I think some people honestly will mark that off. Not everyone does, but you know, it's so I had a buddy that worked for one of the MLS academies, and he was working with the 19-year-olds back when I mean, there's still MLS academies that have 19 programs, but it's kind of faded out a little bit. They joined UPSL and such, but he told
Mm-hmm.
us he told those players straight up. He was like, he let his players do what they want. He said, "Boys, please wear your shin guards," and the guys didn't listen. So it was like 10 minutes into training, and then like people were picking up injuries, and he was like, "Boys, I told you so. Like it's important to wear your shin guards and everything. And it's important to wear the proper gear so we can all stay healthy and safe. So when we got to play in this weekend's game, there's no injuries and no one picks up any injuries from stuff. So
Right.
just part of the thing is like you wouldn't show up to an interview with jeans and a t-shirt and sneakers. You'd
Mm-hmm.
show up in a suit or business casual with some slacks and or khaki pants or whatever and a polo and some casual dress shoes and everything, and just how you walk around and present yourself is tells us so much about you as a player. um and how you interact with your teammates too. Like, are you a team player, or do you kind of just go off after the game and just pout, and or after you win, you just kind of go off? And I get everyone's different. Like, everyone's in the
Mm-hmm.
zone sometimes, and sometimes they kind of need to digest everything that just happened, and they need to be alone. I,
Yeah.
I totally understand that, but how you interact with people and then how you come up and present yourself to people is extremely important. So, and I think that's one thing that the younger generation, just doesn't understand a little bit is, that says a lot about your character and who you are by how you present yourself.
Exactly. I mean, and that's something that I think as younger players, especially with certain people, like I've said previously, I will let players play up or play down as they need to in the program to get the skills down that they need to and have competition. But those players that are maybe going up or down, or they're having other players come up or whatever, and having a good attitude about welcoming those players and not treating them like garbage, like you're better than them,
Yep.
or it's always like, or if you're the player that's going, up or whatever, making sure that you're gracious to the team that you're going to play with, or to your own team, like not bragging about, I got to go do this,
Hmm.
because, obviously your coach maybe sees you as a talented player and that you need that extra push, but maybe they're not going to give you that opportunity if you turn it into a problem, and because you're not being good and fair to your teammates, because that's something that's very important for young players to realize, like, not everybody's going to get the same opportunities, because not every player is the same and they develop differently. And so if a coach asks you to help out with something, or asks a player to come up and train,
Hmm.
that's not a reflection on you as a player that maybe is on that team and going, well, why is that person here?
Yes.
And getting upset and kind of berating them, and you're not on this team. Like, well, the coach asked them to be there for a reason,
Yep.
and you need to respect the coach's reasoning for that player to be there. Because as a coach myself, I'm about developing all the players,
Hmm.
and I want to do what's best for all the players. And so I want to make sure that all of the players feel that they can do that safely. And so
Yes.
that's another thing, like, along with treating your teammates well, and treating your coaches well, listening to your coaches and things like that. Because I know, there's a lot of players who will ignore what their coaches want to do because they think that they know better,
Yes.
or type of a thing. And coaches for college and other programs need a player that is coachable.
Yep.
That is super important.
Yes.
So if a scout like you sees a player that is being directed to do something specific and
Hmm.
they have a bad attitude about it, obviously that's going to be a problem at an even higher level.
Oh yeah.
Is this player going to listen to me when I need them to do something?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're open to that, and available. Very important
Yeah.
for
Quick.
players to have.
Yeah. Quick story. Just like, it's funny you mentioned that. So, working for the Portland Timbers, I work with the, we still contract with them at the soccer syndicate. Ned Grabavoy was the technical director. Now he's the GM. But a lot of our
Mm-hmm.
stuff we work with Ned. And, we would talk about kids' attitudes and everything and egos and such. And, Ned brings up a story is when he was with RSL with Kyle Beckerman, there was a rookie that came in out of college and he thought he was the big show, and, he thought he didn't have to listen to anyone. Well, you're around with a bunch of veterans that have played pro soccer for 8 plus, 5 plus years. I mean, I would
Yeah.
consider you a veteran, if you played for 5 plus years. Now you're not, an age veteran, like, if you played for 10 to 15, but
Right.
Kyle Beckerman set him straight very, very quickly. As he was pretty much like, who are you, man, to come up and walk and not have to do anything or not listen to anyone? I don't care what you did at the college level. This is the pro level, and I think that's what some kids and parents have a very difficult time figuring out is that a body of work is important, but at the end of the day, you could score all the goals at the youth level, but it's how you can contribute at the college level. And the same thing with the college level is you could score all the goals and get all the assists, but how are you going to help that team at the pro level win games? You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. You did something. That's great. You're a senior in 2023, and you just got drafted, and now you're coming to camp in January of 2024 in MLS. But I don't care what you did in college anymore. It doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It's the here
Right.
and now, man. It's the here and now and the present, and that's all I care about is what can you do for me now that can help me, we could help this team succeed. And that's, either being the best, practice player out there or a guy that plays in a match and is a super sub or starts and contributes to the game. And, what you did in the past is great, but it means nothing to anyone else, honestly. And I know a lot of us on you watch ESPN and everything, and they talk about the body work and everything, and that's all the great players and what they've done. And but not everyone's in that same category, unfortunately. You got to earn your
Right.
stripes every time you bump up a level. So,
Right. Right. And you definitely have to leave it all out on the pitch. Like, if you want to, like you said, contribute, go out and contribute and show what you can do. Like, don't think that you've already got it won.
yep,
Because I know that there's a lot of people who maybe they think that, well, I'm this amazing player,
yep,
I'm going to have all this stuff, come to me, for me, whatever, it's going to be handed to me. I
hmm,
don't know. And you could be sadly disappointed when you don't get any of that, because
correct.
maybe your attitude was bad, or I don't know, but make sure that you're somebody that can contribute and is gracious about that, because just getting those opportunities, like I know some players that have been given opportunities at professional ranks, and whether they could hang or not,
Mm-hmm.
when I've talked to them, they're like, it, even though I didn't get to do very much or whatever, they were like,
Exactly.
it wasn't a great experience for me.
Yep.
And it was, I was great that I was so gracious that I could even have that
Mm-hmm.
experience happen. And I mean, don't ruin it.
Yep.
Not everybody gets to be in that position. So if you're one of the lucky ones that gets to be in that position, don't
Yes.
waste it. Because I know, like,
Yes.
there's some players that we think about. I can't remember his name, but he played for, and I don't. There was a kid that played for Real Salt Lake,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed watching him. I think his, I don't know if it was a nickname that everybody gave him.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember his nickname was Nos. I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
where he was from or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I really enjoyed watching him. But I have no idea whatever happened to him
Sure.
after he ended up leaving. And I don't remember how long he was there. And so I'm like, I don't know if it was one of those situations where, we have some of those players that come into MLS or wherever, and
Mm-hmm.
they think that they should be playing in a bigger league or whatever. And they can't hang. They can't,
Yep.
they're not up to snuff, whatever. They think they're too good. And then they kind of get washed out. And
Yep.
now, who knows where they are now?
Yeah.
So don't waste it if you get that opportunity. Definitely don't
Yeah.
waste it.
Yeah. You just like you got to remember you're easily replaceable, and
Hmm.
that's in the college game, and that's also in the pro game, because the way the college game works now with transfers, and again, it's an international game. You're easily replaceable. If we brought you in, you thought you were this player, and by the time you're a sophomore, you've done nothing. You've not advanced or progressed. I mean, that's where kids then start to transfer and transfer to the lower school where maybe they should have started, and you're easy. And even in the youth game, you're easily replaceable too because of all the kids that play and everything and the numbers. But especially at the college and
Hmm.
pro level, you're easily replaceable. You don't have just because you did something prior in college and then you're in the pro game doesn't, like we talked about, doesn't mean that you deserve to play 5 years of MLS soccer. Every day is a grind, and the players that grind it out, like the Brandon Byes, the Dewan Joneses of the world, and the Kellen Acostas, and and it's how you get through the bad times of your career and make them good that really shows you the
Hmm.
character of a player, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely showing that hard work and good work ethic that you have, that you want to be there and you want to show up for your team,
Mm-hmm.
whatever level it may be, in whatever capacity it may be at that time. I have seen players that I know locally who are from here, or they played here growing up. They, maybe they went and played collegiate, or they played for RSL.
Mm-hmm.
They're now at the Monarchs, and one day they may get a call up to the first team, and
Yep.
that's because they're putting in the grind, they're putting in the work, they're respecting where they are and what they're doing, and so that's been awesome for us to be able to see, for because some of them are people that we've known, families that we've known for years, and so
Yeah.
it's really fun to be able to see them and come in and do that
Mm-hmm.
and cheer them on. So it's really fun to
Yeah.
be able to see that now that it's happening more to people that we know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty exciting. But we've covered a whole lot of
Yeah.
information. I'm sure that we could cover
Yeah.
way more. But is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners right now, parents or players, that we haven't already covered? Like I said, we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have. I mean, I think the biggest points we've covered is, like we talked about the college stuff with the recruiting process, and like I said, pick a school based on academics and location first, and not the soccer, and understand that it's tough. Everyone's not going to make it to the next level. I mean, there are kids that
Hmm.
play soccer at U10, 11, 12 that just stop, right, because that's it. So it's everything's not guaranteed, especially when you want to play pro
Hmm.
soccer and even collegiately. So that's the thing. And listen, just my advice for parents is, I know you want to support your son or daughter, and it's extremely important, but sometimes you need to understand when to take a step back and to not be overbearing. And you need to recognize that. There's a lot of players parents I see, that are joysticking their player and telling them what to do instead of the coach, coaching the player. And, I've seen kids that are very frustrated at times with that. And, as a scout too, like I look at that and like, it's not a good thing. So just parents, just go watch your kids play and have fun at the end of the day. And I know it's always about winning and everything, but sometimes you got to take, especially youth soccer, you got to take the winning part out of it. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if a kid is on a team that goes 1-12. I mean, does the kid go out there every game and, does he play to the last minute, however long he plays, whether it's 90 minutes or he plays for 75 or whatever, does he give everything on the field? That's what you just got to realize. And another thing too is it's not the end all be all to end up in an MLS academy. There are kids that have different development paths. Um, so if you feel frustrated that you've been in all these trials for MLS academies and you haven't gotten there, it's okay. Like you're where you need to be. You can go through the college ranks and you can still go play pro soccer. There are so many ways in this country to get to the pro level. And
Mm-hmm.
we've seen it. We've seen kids. Obviously, you're in over by Barca Academy in Casa Grande, and there's kids that go to college and get drafted. There's kids that go to MLS clubs and the second teams and up. There's kids that go to USL clubs and then they get sold overseas or whatever. And that's the beauty part of America is there's a lot of different ways in our crazy pyramid that we have here that can you can get to the pro level. So just know there's many different ways to get to that pro level, and there's just not one way, and you just got to take one day at a time, honestly. And just don't let that critic inside your head, don't give them the microphone. You just got to make sure that coach inside your head stays with you, honestly, and get you through stuff. So
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've loved about doing this podcast is listening to the different pathways that each of the players have taken to get
mhm.
where they went with their career, whether it was where they thought they were going to go with it or not,
Yep.
whether it turned out the way that they wanted it to or not. And it's been interesting to hear. Sometimes people will say maybe I would have taken a different route. Maybe they had an opportunity they wish they would have taken or whatever. And it kind of is what it is, but it
Yeah.
all works out in the end.
Hmm.
And it, like you said, it's not end all be all. If you end up not going D1, but you go like D3,
Yeah.
you're still playing college soccer,
Hmm.
as long as you're choosing the school that you want to go to,
Yes.
which I mean has been excessively stressed by numerous people that I have interviewed, is
Yes.
making sure that you love the school that you're going to.
Yep.
And if it isn't a D1 school, that's fine. I
Hmm.
mean, not everybody gets to play college soccer.
Correct.
And so even if it is a lower division, you're still getting to play college soccer. So
Yeah.
you're still going to be in that small group of people that gets to do it. And
Yep.
I mean, that's a huge accomplishment in itself,
Hmm.
getting to be able to say that you did that. And so that's something to remember as well, if that's your goal. I mean, if your goal is to just play soccer until you graduate high school, like you, I knew college soccer kind of wasn't going to be my thing. And
Hmm.
so I decided not to continue with it, and that was my journey at that time.
Yep.
And I don't regret it. I don't know that I would have loved doing it,
Hmm.
but that was a personal choice for me, and I don't know if my parents were disappointed or what. I have no idea,
Yeah.
but that is the life I chose.
Yeah.
Part of it did have to do with the example that my brother had. He came home from his, he didn't play for very long. He was there for maybe a year or
Hmm.
less, on his college scholarship. And so for him, I still have yet to interview him, but
Hmm.
to me, as his little sister, I feel like the environment that he chose was probably not best for his personality.
Yeah.
And he probably needed a different environment, especially after talking to so many people about the schools that they chose and why they chose them and stuff. And I don't know if he just picked his because it was the best offer.
Hmm.
Sometimes the best offer isn't always the best school for you to go to. So again,
Yeah.
make sure you go and visit the campuses that you like.
Hmm.
Talk with the staff, look at the courses, look at everything, all of it, and make sure that you like it. And it's not one size fits all. We've
Yep.
had players out of this country that have gone and played in other leagues and other countries.
Hmm.
So there's always different places that you can go play. If you don't make it domestically,
Hmm.
definitely there's always a chance to go internationally.
Correct, correct.
So,
And that's the one thing I always, just the one thing to finish up is every college kid that wants to play, pro soccer, it's like, oh, I got to get in the MLS Next Pro team. So then, with Monarchs 2 or that second team or whatever to get to the first team. And I tell them, like, if you want to play, man, like, go to League One, go to Championship, or if you need to go play in like a third division somewhere over in Europe and you have the passport or whatever, like, take that opportunity. Because at the end of the
mhm.
day, you need to get minutes and you need to showcase yourself and not just sit and play on the second team and where it's not competitive high level soccer where people can see you. So again,
Yeah.
agreed. So the ways you can get to play is super important, and the road, it's not always the same road for everyone. Some take the road less traveled and it works out. I know kids that are playing in second division Australia, or
Mhm.
over in Portugal or over in like Denmark and Sweden and such, and they
Yep.
play there for a few years and then come back. So it's just everyone's path is different, and don't always think that in order to get where you want to be, you got to be at the top level. You need to showcase yourself. So
Yeah,
mhm,
it's totally true. I've seen it. Personal players that I've seen, they went over and played in Europe a little bit.
mhm,
We've got a player down in Mexico currently, so there's lots of options. So don't just
mhm.
think that if you don't go play MLS, that your journey is over, because that
Correct.
is not. It's if you want to play professionally, look at all the options that there are professionally
Hmm.
in this world.
Yep. Yeah,
So
you make
because
it.
there's lots of options.
Yeah, players make it. You make what it is essentially. It's your career. You're your own business, and you're selling yourself. And you make of it what you make of it. It's not the club or the coach or whatever. It's you. So that's how you market yourself, and that's all it is marketing yourself and standing out. So
Yeah.
mhm,
Okay, Brooks. Well, this has been a fun conversation, long conversation, but
yeah,
full of lots of information that I know there's a lot of listeners out there that wanted to know the answers to some of
mhm,
these questions and understand maybe stuff that they didn't understand before, especially about getting scouted, recruited, and things like that. So
mhm.
thank you for coming on and answering those questions. I really enjoyed it. Check out Brooks on the We Are Soccer Show. They go live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, right?
So it'll be
Well, no,
7 p.
9 p.m.
Yes.
9 p.m. Eastern,
Yeah.
7 p.m. my time.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's 7 p.m. when I jump on there. So yeah,
Yeah.
and they're on YouTube, Facebook. You can follow them on
Yeah.
Instagram, all the
Twitter,
things.
X.
So
Yeah. All of them.
whatever
Yeah.
that's called now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're really fun to engage in. They talk about all soccer, all levels of
Yeah.
soccer, MLS, La Liga, EPL, um,
Bundesliga.
the national teams. Yeah. Oh,
Can't forget that
Bundesliga.
for
Can't forget
Nate.
that.
Yeah,
Can't
for
forget
Nate.
that for
Yeah.
Nate. Yeah. Yeah. He might get really mad at me for forgetting Bundesliga.
Yep.
But anyway, so make sure you guys check them out as well. And if you have any other questions, shoot them my way. I can get
Hmm.
Brooks to answer them. You could probably find Brooks on your own and ask him
Yeah.
yourself via Instagram or wherever. But thank you, Brooks, for coming on. It's been great. I've enjoyed having you. Tell the guys, hey, at We Are Soccer from me.
I will. Thank you, Katie. Thank you for having me on, and this was great, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for kicking it with me, and have a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Kick It With Katie Podcast _ between all the words. You can reach out to me with questions at kickitwithkatiepod@gmail.com. I also have a feature with SpeakPipe where you can leave me your own voicemail message if you want to be featured on the podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.